Initiate streaming. All right, I'm live. Okay. You see that? All right. Well, thanks for coming out today. Got a good crowd today. This should be a really interesting topic. Andy's going to be talking about Vaden or however you pronounce Vaden. So hopefully that'll be a good takeaway for all of us today. Looks like it's still showing Java 1 2017. But so anyway, so I'm Mike Kelly. I'm in B24, and Andy Neprosk is the other co-leader. He's an A21. Originally organized this to provide kind of a meeting place where we can talk about Java-related topics and hopefully make each other the best we can be, just like the Army. And mission statement, we're trying to provide something, community to help us be more productive and innovative. And you guys probably have seen these several times. So I'll just jump to the next one. We try to meet first Tuesday of every month. There are some exceptions, but not too many. We'll say next month we are not having a meeting just because there's usually no one around that first Tuesday in January. So yeah, it's kind of, yeah. And if you are back, you're trying to catch up on stuff. So we just usually try not to have one. All right, so Java news. So Project Valhalla, which is essentially value types for Java. These would be similar to like structs in C++ or C. As you know, Java does not currently support that. You're either just like a basic primitive type like an int or a double, or you're an actual reference. So they're actually been working on these value types, and I think they had initially planned to get them into Java 10. I can't remember what the target was. It doesn't look like they're going to make it into Java 10, but apparently they have like a sort of first iteration implementation of that they're hoping to get out, and I imagine it'll probably be available in one of the open JDK instances. Oracle has joined this Eclipse Micro Profile project, which I guess you had heard that Oracle sold out and gave Java EE to the Eclipse Foundation. So I guess their plan is to kind of get closer with them, which I'm sure really pisses off the NetBeans people, because they dumped NetBeans and now they're kind of getting into cahoots with Eclipse. But that's another story. So this micro profile thing actually sounds fairly interesting. So I don't know if anyone here has done anything with microservices or interacting with cloud-based applications, but I guess the idea is to create some sort of microservices platform that is independent of any particular Java runtime. So that's about all I know about it. I haven't really investigated a whole lot, but it's a interesting concept. So Java 10 is scheduled to be released in April 2018. I was looking at the features that they're planning to put out. Most of them look pretty, back-end things you aren't necessarily going to care about too much. It's more in the machinery part of it, garbage collection and so forth. But they did have one interesting feature that looks like it's would be helpful, and that's the ability to do this type inference on local variables. So like right now, you have to, when you're declaring a variable, you have to specify the type in the beginning here. Now you can use the diamond operator to make it a little bit shorter, but you should be able to do something like this, which is available in other languages like Kotlin and Scala. Anyway, I guess it's not going to save too much typing because I guess you still have to specify it here. But anyway, that's really the only major feature so far that they're planning to put in. And I think last month, Andy mentioned that they were going to this new versioning numbering system, which was basically like the year and the month. So people got very upset about that, because it was going to mess everything up and it's confusing. So now they're going back to kind of a more detailed, but still equally confusing numbering system. So this is kind of the current state of it now. So you have this feature dot number, interim number, update, and emergence, and this is kind of what it means. So the feature number gets incremented every 6 months, regardless of what happens. It's like there's the idea, I guess, is to have a build every 6 months. And this interim number gets incremented if you have to have like a non-feature release, so some sort of bug fix or something between those 6 month increments. Update is incremented every 3 months, and that's like, I guess they do like a security release every 3 months. And then like if everything gets like, if there's some sort of major hack that happens and they gotta like immediately release something, then you'll see this emergency or emerge number go. So anyway, that's the current feeling. We'll see if it stays like that, but that's the plan. And NetBeans 9 has still not been released. I'm pretty. Please silence your cell phones.
Yeah. I got a pregnant wife, so.
All right, we'll let you off the hook. So I'm kind of disappointed because they were supposed to have this released back when Java 9 first came out, but it looks like they're sort of, it kind of looks like some of their support has been pulled since they got moved to the open source realm as an Apache project. So this is kind of a wait and see. We'll see how it goes. But as of right now, it's not looking super promising for them. But hopefully they'll be able to turn it around. So that's all I got. Any questions, comments? Have you guys heard anything interesting that you'd like to share? It's Java related? Anyone? Bueller? Okay. Well then, with that, I'll turn it over to Andy to talk about Vaadin.
All right. Hopefully there's no further interruptions. So, welcome. I do want to, before I start, put a plea out. Our time with Mike is probably running pretty short, as those of you know. They're shipping his branch out to Maryland, so we desperately need somebody to step up and take his spot, at least one person. The more we get, the better. I don't know that I'm going to be able to keep this running by myself. In fact, I probably won't be able to. It's just too much of a time commitment. I don't think my boss would allow it, so she's watching it on YouTube right now, so who knows what she thinks. But I don't know that she'll allow it, and it's going to be too much for me to do by myself. So we've had this going for over 4 years now. I'd like it to continue going, but I need people to volunteer to step up and help out, preferably before Mike leaves, so that we can kind of hand over the reins in a smooth fashion. So please, please, please think about it. If it's something you think you could do, talk to me afterwards, and we'll see what we can do. All right, and I would like to thank Mike. He's been a tremendous help for these last 4 years. I remember when we 4+ years. I remember when we put this sucker together almost 5 years ago now, when we started talking about it. He didn't have as much faith that we would be successful as I did. I was like, hey, let's do this, and I sold it to him as, if we do this, we'll go to Java 1. And he's like, I'll do it, but I doubt we're ever going to make it to Java 1. Well, we've both spoken at Java 1 several times. We're semi-celebrities out there now, and it's been great. But yeah, so I'm going to miss Mike. I just wanted to say that. So let's talk about Vaadin. So why did I decide to do this, and what is this? Well, how many of you have used Vaadin before? Like, okay, so we have one, and I kind of know his experience levels, so we're good. That's great, because what this is intended to be is, as of 2 months ago, before I went to Java 1, I'd never heard of Vaadin. honestly. And then at Java 1, Baden came up a lot. They had cool t-shirts that they were handing out. I don't remember if I got one. If I did, my wife already has sent it somewhere else because she has a phobia of becoming a hoarder. So if I get extra stuff, it gets donated rather quickly. So I think I lost my Atlassian socks already, which I'm kind of upset about, and some other stuff. But in any case, so they were handing out these really cool t-shirts that had like the Baden deer on it, and that was it. They were probably the nicest t-shirts there, I would say. Do you agree, Evan? Yeah. So, and they had a lot of sessions about Baden, and there was a lot of buzz about Baden, and Evan was there with me, and he got very excited about Baden on like the first day. We met up at the end of the first day, and he's like, I'm so excited about Baden, and he started talking to me about it, and he said, we should really consider this for an upcoming project that we're going to be working on, and I listened to him and agreed that did sound like a good thing for what we're going to be working on, so I agreed we would at least explore using it, and it's looking more and more like we probably will use Baden on that project. So 2 weeks ago, I was like, well, we got to come up with the topic for the jug. Let's do it on Baden. And I said, well, I don't really know about Baden, so this will just be my first stumbles into Baden and what I learned, and whether or not I think it's a good thing for the rest of you to kind of stumble into. So I will tell you up front, bottom line up front, I drank the Kool-Aid. It's nice. And I think you guys will all see that here too. Having said that, I am very much a fan of JavaFX. And a large part of the reason why I love Baden so far is it is very, very FX-esque. Very FX-esque. I love that. FX is so much nicer, easier, and cleaner to work with than Swing, in my opinion, and more powerful. Baden follows the same paradigms and is very similar, in my mind, to FX and the way FX works and the way that you do layouts in FX. Which is good for me because I think I've forgotten how to do layouts in Swing. I remember there's one called the Spring layout. That's my boss's favorite layout. In fact, I would produce things in like a grid layout or grid bag or whatever it was, and she would look at it and I would get it back and it would be in the Swing or Spring layout with all these attachments all connecting it to weird corners and other stuff, and it was just always so confusing. And FX layouts are so much easier, so much nicer if you can wrap your head around the way they work. And we've had that discussion where you're going to see in Baden it has that too. So let's talk about what's actually on the slide now. So what is Baden? Well, it's for rich internet applications. It's like Swing was before the whole filthy rich movement. FX is very after the filthy rich and built upon a lot of that stuff. So it's a lot more user nice and user interactive stuff. And Baden is the same way. It's very rich, very feature rich, very user experience rich. And it's open source, which is great. It's not JavaScript, which is why we're talking about it here at the Jug. If it was JavaScript, we all know JavaScript is not Java. It's not JavaScript, it's Java. You write Java code to make a web page. And actually you're going to see, not only is it Java, they have all the cool stuff like lambdas and all that other stuff in there too. Nice. So, it's not a library or a browser plugin based solution. It's actually server side. So when you ask for the web page, the server builds it and gives it to you, and there it is. And it seems kind of complex, but it works out pretty nice actually. And almost everything runs on your server. So if you have slow clients, you don't have to worry so much about that. Ajax technology runs the browser side stuff to help make it sure that it's a rich experience, and on the client it's using the Google Web Toolkit or the GWT. So if you know about that, then it does use that. It utilizes that. So what are some features? Well, like I said, it uses the Java programming language. It's event driven. It with programming and widgets, or event-driven programming with widgets. It enables a programming model that is closer to GUI software development than traditional web development. It uses the Google Web Toolkit, as we explained already, which is pretty powerful. And another thing that's pretty important is for security, Vaadin actually adds server-side validation to all actions. So anything you do gets validated on the server side. What does this mean? If somebody tries to hack it by injecting something else or trying to send back something that's not really there, Vaadin just ignores it and resends the person the original. So it doesn't allow people to tamper with it as easily, which is good for security. And since we're all government employees, we all like security. Oh yes, I should probably put this away. Good call. Since I'm on video. But awesome. So it does do some security stuff, which is good. And it's you can extend anything in Vaadin. You can extend it using the GWT custom widgets. You can theme it with CSS, and you can even do other stuff, which we'll see and talk about here shortly. And it works on all the IDEs. It has a plugin for all of them, for Eclipse, for NetBeans, for IntelliJ. They're all there. It does seem to be a little bit better for Eclipse and IntelliJ right now than NetBeans, if you go with the Pro stuff, which we'll look at soon. And it works with every major browser, and actually it goes pretty far back. It even works with IE8, which is amazing, because IE8 is so bad. Something that works with IE8, that's dedication right there. So, we talked about this. Man, NetBeans cost me 2 hours last night while I was trying to put this together. So it gets its own special slide today. This was me last night. Definitely me last night. I was
finally convert you to Eclipse.
I think IntelliJ has me right now. But what happened is I had installed Java 9 maybe a month or so ago to play around with it on my laptop. And when I went to do this, I thought, well, I should probably get the latest version of NetBeans. So I installed 8.2 over 7.4, which was there. I didn't really pay attention when I was installing it, and it tried to use the JDK for 9 for NetBeans itself. And when it opened, it installed fine, it opened fine, but almost nothing worked. Like, I went to open a new project, and there was nothing. It's weird. It let me install a plugin, but I could not open or start a new project. I could open a project, but things didn't work in it. I could not figure out what was wrong. I tried reinstalling it. Still didn't work. I was like, oh man, what the heck is going on? Then I suddenly realized, I was like, wait, I wonder if it's because it's using Java 9. Sure enough, it was using Java 9. I had to go into the config file and manually set it back to Java 8, and it worked just fine after that. So, but this took me literally 2 hours to figure out last night when I was trying to get this all done and organized, and I was very frustrated and crying like a little baby. My wife was even like, suck it up. One thing about Vaadin that you're going to notice is it has themes, and these themes are actually pretty powerful. Now, there's a bunch of them that you can get. I think there's a ton of them out there on the internet. I did not really go looking, but I did find some of the more popular ones. And let's just look at some of these themes and what they can do and offer us. So this one is called Velo, and I don't think this is the standard theme. It's one of the upgrade ones, but we can see like date fields can look like these things, and text fields, buttons and links. So this is kind of like a clean theme. It looks kind of, you know, normal FX-ish or even swing-ish a little bit. It's got a lot of options, as you can see, and different things you can do. So there's trees, tables and grids. So it's, you know, it's pretty cool. I don't think it's my favorite theme. But it's the theme that I can see my boss saying, thou shalt use Valo because it is the closest to what we want. So I can totally see that happening. But I don't know. We'll see. So whoops, that's not right. Let's see. Which one is Google? Back to the slides. Oh, yeah. All right. Then there's reindeer, which I thought would be very Christmassy, but it turns out it's not. So reindeer actually has 3 different flavors. It has white, blue, and black. And same sort of things. It's also very vanilla-ish, whatever. So same basic things, just, you know, here's like the black one. And yeah. So that one's reindeer. Then this one's my favorite probably. This is called Chameleon. And the reason why I like Chameleon is it's super easy to change everything on it. And I like changing stuff. So, for example, if you want things to be green or black or Vaadin, there's several presets in it that you can go with. But you could change more. Like you can change the background color. Now, when I did this yesterday, I got myself into trouble because I'm colorblind. So let's try not to do that again. So you can change the background color, and then you can pretty easily change it back. Let's see, the base color. I learned to do not make that blue or I will get lost. Okay, so you can change like the background of a lot of the widgets that way. And you can do this programmatically very easily. So I think that's kind of why I like, let's fix it. I think that's why I kind of like this one, because it does offer so much variety. So if you like to draw pretty things on your GUIs, then this is for you. And I like pretty GUIs. So, and it has a lot of, I think their widgets look very clean and polished. So, this one's my favorite by far, but I doubt I'll be allowed to use this here at work. We'll see. So, the last one is called Runo, and I think this one is the default one that you're supposed to use, or that comes with Vaadin. So I don't really know how to get this part to work. Like, it shows a bunch of books and stuff, and I couldn't ever get this site to really show me like what I want. I guess like this. So yeah. So these are what they look like in this one, but I do kind of like the drop shadow look. I love drop shadows. I think they make things so much cleaner and nicer. But the point is there's tons of these themes. These ones are kind of the most popular ones. These four are the most popular themes out there. And there's tons of them. But you don't have to use them if you don't want to. You can modify it, you can create your own, or you can just not use a theme at all and style everything with CSS. And all of that's perfectly fine in Vaadin. Whoops, I clicked on it where there was a... Alright, now the documentation, man. I cannot be happier with the documentation for Vaadin. I was blown. When I realized, I started doing research on this a little over a week ago on this topic. And I was probably about an hour and a half in. I was like, man, every time I do a search on it, it seems the same. And then I realized, oh yeah, I'm on the Vaadin site. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This is Vaadin's documentation that I'm messing around with. And it's actually really, really good. It's amazing for its user friendliness. It's robust. It has lots of examples. It's maintained. So it's very up to date. And this is actually the very first page that I stumbled across because, I was like, hey, how can I do a hello world in Vaadin? Because, that's what us computer scientists like to do. So this is the very first Vaadin page I came to, and you can see it's from Vaadin.com. And it took me a while to realize that this was Vaadin's documentation, but it is, and this is built on with Vaadin, obviously, so it shows kind of the power of it. But as you can see, has this great walkthroughs that with also an explanation and what you should expect to see, and you can change it to the different versions of Vaadin. So 10 is not really that filled out yet. It's, I think, a work in progress. 8's the current one. I did mess around with 10 a bit, but it has a lot of stuff like this is something that we're going to be talking about in a little bit here. But as I was mentioning before, it has kind of the layouts work the same way as JavaFX. So if you are a JavaFX programmer, this will not be scary to you. If you're a Swing programmer, you'll be like, what the what? What is that? But in FX, this is how we do things with nested sort of mini layouts with horizontals and vertical layouts and the sort. So in FX, these are called H boxes and V boxes, and it's essentially the same thing, and you nest them to get what you want, and it's all clean and nice and smooth, and I like it. So, but they do have other kind of layouts. They have grid layouts and stuff like that you can use. And actually, if you these ones, so you can see actually it has the vertical and horizontal, has grid, form, panels, sub windows, has tab sheet, accordion, absolute. You can format your own layouts. So you can see they're all over here, and there's documentation with examples for each one of them. So the documentation is, in my opinion, really, really good for Vaadin. I'm a new person coming in. I like to see that. I hate getting into something where there's nothing I could use as examples to kind of get my feet wet. So I was happy to see that. So there are some extras that I really, really want to get, and I've already talked with my boss some. She's probably like, right now, she's probably like, oh, Andy. But she doesn't like when I talk about her, but she's a great person. But I already talked with her this morning. I was like, hey, if we do this in production, we really ought to think about getting some licenses. So Vaadin is open source, but you can get some licenses, and if you get a license, then you get a whole bunch of extra stuff with that license, of which includes it has like 6 or 7. We'll see the list in a minute. But the two that includes that really, really kind of sparked my interest are the Vaadin Designer, which is sort of like, it is a lot, I don't know if, yes. So as you can see, they have it for Eclipse and for IntelliJ, just not for NetBeans, as I said. It's sort of like Scene Builder for FX. So if you've used Scene Builder, you know that even though it has a few issues, Scene Builder, I don't know if Designer, I think Designer's probably nicer because it's maintained and paid for, even though Gluon sort of maintains Scene Builder. But they have this, and it works really nice, and it's along the same principles, at least my understanding and looking into it. I didn't want to waste my free trial period, so I didn't try downloading it and messing with it yet. But from what I could see, reading other people's comments about it and looking into it, it seems very clean, and the code that's generated, you can manipulate the code directly and not mess up the tool. So, which I like when that's the case. I hate it when the tool locks down the code, and if you mess with the code, then it all falls apart. That really annoys me, because sometimes I don't know how to fix it on the tool, but I know how to fix it in the code, right? You guys have all, anybody here used Matisse back in the day? No, none of you used Matisse? Yeah, so with Matisse, man, it was a mess. As soon as you touched the Matisse code, Matisse was like, all right, you touched the code, that's it. No more code generation for you, ever. Right? Am I right? I'm right. And it had clear warnings at the beginning and end of all of its code blocks. Do not touch this code. But this is not that way, and it actually, from what I could read, the reviews on it and such, it's actually really nice to use and very clean and powerful. So I use Scene Builder a lot. I think it makes me a lot more productive when I use Scene Builder. I think that this would make us more productive too. So that's what I'm going to use to try to sell us on, hey, let's get some licenses. Then the other one, which is probably a better selling point for getting the license, because you can't, I think you can get one of these alone, but they have the Vaadin Test Bench, which lets you, it's a very powerful testing tool. It does regression testing, and it tests all of the browsers. So if you make a change, it'll go and see, is this going to work on all the browsers, and it will tell you. I love how the example picked out IE.
It's the only one that's
Because we all know if one's going to break, it's going to be IE, right? So I love how they picked out IE as the broken one in the example. And it tells you what's broken about it and such. So it's an automated testing tool, very powerful. A lot of the reviews on it were pretty were good. There was very little negative about it, and usually the negative was people didn't understand really how to set it up. And they usually got that out pretty quick. So it looks like a very powerful tool, and I don't know about your guys' experience, but mine has been that trying to find a GUI testing tool is painful. There's not many GUI testing tools out there. So if we have a GUI testing tool that we can get, and with as much as we love testing, for good reason, I would think that this would be something we would want and that we would be willing to pay to get. And I'm sure most people on Base, most of the projects on Base are in kind of the same boat. So let's talk about now what the more is. And this is going to give us a little bit of the overview. So they have kind of these three different packages, right? And I love this too about Vaadin, which you'll see in a second here. They actually give you the standard price. Most people don't do that, man. You try to find the standard prices on Oracle stuff, good freaking luck. But how much can I tell my boss that this Oracle server is going to cost? I don't freaking know. Eventually, 2 hours later, you find a spreadsheet that's a year old, and you can do like a bunch of additions and get, it's going to be about this much, but there may be a deduction. I don't know. Maybe it costs more now because this is 2 years ago. I don't know. Here, I can go to my boss and be like, look, man, the most it's going to cost us is $100 a month per person. Unless we just do the per month, and then it's going to be $160 a month per person. But we should just get it for a year. Yeah, $1,200 per year per person. Oh yeah, additional developers are cheaper. That's right. They're $60 a month. So not really, not that expensive. So with the core, you get all of these things. You get a lot of elements, which we'll look at in a second. Or I meant to look at those. I don't remember if I put a slide in for that at 1 in the morning. But there's a lot of you get all the elements, or a lot of the elements. There are some that you don't get. You get the framework itself, and these things all for free, right? With just the regular package. So for the Pro one, you get all of the obviously because they're free, and you get the test bench, which we just talked about, and the designer. And you get these improved charts, so it has really nice charts in there, which we can look at if you want. Those are additional elements, and yeah. So for all of the elements, it also has this, where you can look at examples of it and kind of a brief description, and it shows you like what it is, and then you can click on it actually, and it tells you like which package you have to have for this element, and kind of gives you a bit more about it, what you can do with it and such, and then how you include it into your project. Like I said, the documentation, amazing. So, and I guess we might as well try to do that now. You could do this see all elements thing. Hopefully it works. Come on now. Yep. So now you can get examples of all of the different kind of elements that they have. So like your standard buttons, and it will. There's no pro there, so you get that one with the package. It tells you kind of how to include them and gives you warnings like make sure you put the theme in first, otherwise bad things. But it does this for all of them, so that's nice. And there's quite a few different things you can do. There's radio buttons, split layouts, text fields, of course, icon sets, date pickers. I think most of these are in the free set. These charts probably are in the chart. Yeah, see, so this is one of the nice charts that you only get with the pro version. And yeah, so it's pretty nice. And you can get elements from third parties too, because other people can make them and you can get them from them. But let's just do this. So going back to this, so it has the charts. It also has something called board, which is it's kind of like a bunch of really nice complex layouts that they've already done for you. So all you have to do is fill in the gaps, and it kind of does it for common things like if you want to have a web page with a bar on the right, a navigation bar on the right, it'll have one for that where you just have to plug in a few details and it's good to go. The spreadsheet's really nice too. I don't really know why you would put why we would put a spreadsheet on the internet, but as you can see, you can have your own internet-based spreadsheet if you have the pro version. So, and also these full stack starters, which kind of nice. And yes, so, and that's not really that crazy of a price, honestly. Looking at other tools similar, really, that's not unreasonable of a price.
What is this thing about an unlimited number of projects?
Yeah, I don't know what that is either. I think because you have an unlimited number of projects with this version too, I think what that means, I think the only thing I could figure with that, what it meant is, with some licenses, you have to buy a license per project, per builder, right? Or per design or coder. So I think what the reason why they put that there is you're buying a license per developer, and it doesn't matter how many projects that developer's working on, they have the license. So that's the only thing I can make sense about that statement. I think that's what it means. Does that make sense to you guys?
It could also mean that the free version doesn't allow you to create commercial apps. It might just be all open source only.
Possibly. I did not see that.
It says open source there. So
Yeah, well, it's free open source to get, but
a lot of times if they're releasing the library, they have restriction on the licensing.
I don't.
Big Bob's the Apache license.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you do commercial apps?
I think so, yeah. So yeah, I don't think that's the case. I really honestly think this literally just means you don't have to pay per project. It's per developer, and the developer however many projects they work on.
There's also open source licenses that let you make commercial apps as well. It's not limited to non-open source.
I know the lesser GNU license does.
Yeah.
The GPL 3 with runtime exception also does as well.
So, as I mentioned, you can get just the charts, and I think this is a forever license, so it's $790 per developer, and it's a forever for just the charts, and that's the only one that you can do that on that I could find. Then they also have this Prime one, which is significantly more expensive, but I don't understand this for 1 to 3 developers, so maybe it's $890 for the first 3, and then it's additional $90 each one. That kind of makes sense. But what this one does, and and we may actually want this, is you get all of the others, of course, and you get a warranty, which is weird because an insurance that covers their products. I don't understand why a tool needs insurance. This is the first time I've run across a tool that's insured, a software tool that's insured. But I guess that's nice. I don't know why they have that, but yeah. So you can get a warranty. I guess that means that they're gonna keep it running. They're gonna keep it up, and it's gonna be good. I don't know. You get expert chat, so you can directly chat with Baden people to help you out if you get stuck. And I don't think that we'll be able to use the development on demand feature at all here. I don't. Hey, Baden people, can you please help me write my nuclear safe code? Don't see that happening. So yeah. So there's those three options. I personally think that the government would be fine going with the pro version, and I think that would be awesome for me if I was if I'm working on a Baden thing. I would appreciate that, and I hope that that's what we can see happen. Getting back to the presentation. Okay, so enough chatting about it. Let's play with it a little bit and see what we can do. So let's get out of this and go to NetBeans. Where is the cube? There it is. Okay. So, incidentally, if you guys ever have to fix, if you ever are like me and have Java 9 installed and then installed NetBeans and it no workies, you could fix it by doing open file in NetBeans, amazingly enough. And the open file did work. But you could use other things too, but I personally don't like opening code files in Word to mess with them, so I hope you don't mind me digging through your C drive there, Mike. So, in program files, NetBeans, I'm just trying to save you guys some time. In this ETS, or ETC folder, which doesn't make any sense, there's this NetBeans config. So if we open this sucker up, if you scroll down to the bottom, blah, 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 okay.
It's using the default one.
Yeah, it's using the default one, so it's commented out. But in mine, this line was not commented out, and it was set to 9 right here. And all I had to do was change it to 8, and it started working again, and I was happy. So everything worked great. Actually, I had to restart after changing it, and then all was well in the world again. And I could stop crying like a little baby. So, that's that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a new Baden project. Now, I did this and I played around with it a bunch, and I really like Baden, and I think you guys will too. So we'll do a new project. I've never done this on this machine, but I did it on mine, so we'll hopefully everything works good. So we'll just give it a new name. But as you can see, once I got the Baden plugin, which is freely available and easy to get, we did that before the class. I did start a new Baden project in NetBeans, the IntelliJ one and the Eclipse one. I didn't try the Eclipse one. I did try the IntelliJ one. It's even nicer and cleaner than this one. So I'm hoping NetBeans gets its act together still, but I might be moving to IntelliJ. So yeah, you can mess with the other things if you want. Like you probably want to change the group ID. You know, it's the same dealio as Java and whatnot, and all that. This stuff you probably want to mess with a little bit if you're making something for real. But in this case, we don't really care, so I'll just do finish. It's going to give me my very first project, which part of the reason why I chose to do it in NetBeans is I really like how NetBeans actually, when you start a new project, they put a little bit of code in there to give you a starting point. It's usually code you have to delete, but I like that. I don't know about the rest of you, but especially when I'm trying to learn something new, I want them to toss something in there so I can be like, oh, so that's how you do it. And they do that for this too. So, we now have a Baden Jug project. So, what we want to look at in here, let's see. So the first thing I looked at is in here in the themes. So my theme, this is where you would put in the theme stuff that you want to do. It comes already with one. I'm not sure which one it is, but it does come with one already. So, so yes, and then where is, in the source packages. So, here's my jug project. And so anyways, you can change your theme in this area right here. And this is where your actual bottom code is going to go. Now, it looks very Java-ish, right? Because guess what? It is Java. Uses imports and all of that. And remember, this is the one that we got with it. So we have this. Let's go ahead and run this and see what it does. And then we will come back and... Okay, are you going to run? So it does take a little bit of time the first time because it has to set up a server and all that. So right now it's just building it. But
A lot of Maven dependencies.
yeah, a lot of Maven dependencies. So, anybody got any good campfire stories while we wait for it to build? Anything? I don't want to have dead air. I don't want to see a lot of ums.
Grasshopper walked into a bar.
And what happened to the grass? So for those listening,
Bartender said, "Hey, we got a drink named after you."
okay.
Grasshopper said, "Hey, you have a drink named Paul."
Awesome. So, jokes from the audience. Those listening at home. Hopefully we're almost done here. Yep, that,
Reviews of TV shows while you're waiting too, right?
there you go. Let's see, last night while I was working on this, playing in the background was, oh, you have a question? Yes.
Since all the things are with SCSS, does it work just like in CSS?
Yes, it does, yes. Yeah, the SCSS is the theme CSS, but you can, I think it's normal, from what I understand, it's normal CSS just as in the SCSS for the theme, but you can just use straight CSS. You don't even have to use a theme.
Yeah, the SCSS, you can have variables and you can also have like inheritance and stuff that compiles the regular CSS.
Oh, so it's a more powerful, oh, that's awesome, because I would like to have variables in CSS sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna depend on that.
Right. So while it's building, because it's taking a while, probably because it's taking a lot longer, but we also have a lot of things running and we're broadcasting, so I'm sure that's probably why it's taking longer. But let's look at some stuff.
It's a Lenovo, so it's broadcasting to China as well.
Yes, that too. So so some things that stood out to me pretty quick when I started looking at it that I thought were cool is, if you notice right here, it actually uses lambdas, which was awesome to me because for those of you who are here for my FX class like 5 or 6 months ago, if you recall, I had a hard time remembering how to do things without lambdas. So I loved it when I saw lambdas are here. Lambdas and streams make life so much easier, in my opinion. So I was glad to see that this actually uses a lambda and all that. But there's even more cool stuff. So let's see if it's done. Not yet. So let's look at real quick, do kind of some of the steps I did. So we'll look at button real quick and see. So there's a lot of different kind of listeners that you can attach to it right away, which is I think it's actually cleaner than the way FX works. You have sometimes problems with FX listeners and knowing it's not really clear when this action is going to get triggered. Like you would think on key typed, it would happen after the key was typed, but no, it's kind of random. It can be before or after the key is typed, which is, not so conducive to testing that. So you usually want to use key released on FX, but this one actually does it better in my opinion. So I was looking at the key one actually for the text fields, and it seems to be cleaner. For example, this one, if we can get the Java doc to come up with everything else going on, which may not happen. And now I've gone and messed it up. So if we, do you have it set up to not show the Java doc?
It's probably just got some going on.
Yeah. So the blur one is like whenever it loses focus, and the Java doc for that will tell you straight out. If it loses focus, then it's going to do this, and if if it loses focus for any reason. So I thought that was nice because now you don't have to go and put it in all of the different ways you can lose focus. Like, did I tab out? Did I mouse out? Did I click on something else? You just do this one, and it handles, hey, I lost focus. I should do something. But I was looking again this morning, and this really excited me. In fact, I think I scared Mike because I started screaming, "What? That's awesome!" And I don't know if you guys can see it. I can't see it when I highlight over it. Sorry, because I'm colorblind. But so I'm just gonna go a little bit above it, if you don't mind. But it's find ancestor, and what it is you do it and you give it a class type, and it will actually go up the parent tree until it finds that class type in the parent tree the first time. Which I'm pretty sure FX doesn't have that, because I was looking for that kind of functionality pretty recently and couldn't find it and had to roll my own. I think that is amazing, and I know times when I could have used that in FX, so I imagine I'll be using it in Vaadin. But that's pretty cool. And then Mike explained to me, yeah, that's cool, Andy, but most of the web framework stuff does that, so he kind of let the wind out of my balloon. But still, I thought that was amazing, and I was happy to see that. So let's see if we're done yet. All right, now let's try and get this sucker to run. Why aren't you running?
What's up?
Do you have servers on?
What's up?
Do you have,
Is there some sort of thing like that?
do you have Glassfish on this?
No, I don't.
That's what, we don't have a server.
Yeah, but it should run on Jetty or something. Is that Glassfish?
I think it wants Glassfish. Sorry guys. This is what happens when we use different machines.
What if you use run dev mode?
Run dev mode. Oh, maybe. Let me try this. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. Because I do, without spending too much more time, don't know if that's going to do something or not. Okay.
Should get off on a different port.
Okay. So, I did want to do. We might not do that now because it looks. This might be a bit more than I thought, and we're already coming up to an hour in. But what I did want to do, and we might still do it. I don't know. We'll see. Is take the example. So I did this on my own, and it actually went really easy and smooth. What I wanted to do here is, and what I did at home last night is, I took the one that NetBeans had, and I wanted to keep that because I wanted to have something else there. And then to the right of it, I wanted to put the Hello World example from the Vaadin example page. In order to do that, I had to nest the layouts a little bit, which is why I wanted to keep both, kind of to separate them out, but keep both so that we could see the nested layout things. Yes. So that, I'll just talk about it. It was super easy. It did not take me long at all to do. The variable names are a little bit different in both, and that was about the biggest difficulty, which I think everybody in this room should be able to figure that out and handle it. And doing the nested, if you know FX at all, it was super cake. I changed the original one to a horizontal instead of a vertical, and actually I didn't. I put a new horizontal one above it, and just changed the final call, which I can show you. So I put actually a horizontal one right between these two because it does matter the order that they come in on this. And then I changed this to the new name that I made the horizontal one. And then I simply, after I did that, I came down here and right here I added a new, I think I called it layout 2 or something like that, or vertical layout or V layout. And that's where I did all of the code from the Hello World example. And then I simply added that one and
Jump over your browser and look at 88. Look up those 88.
okay.
Should be up. Or
Yeah.
colon 88.
Right. I thought there was a shortcut you could use for that.
In the
In the
browser.
Yes. Apparently I wasn't the first one to do that though. And it. All right. Sorry about that. So unfortunately, my laptop doesn't have a camera or a microphone, and so that's why we can't use my laptop. So I guess in switching over, I should have tried to test it. That's my fault. I'm sorry. We did just kind of set it up right before you guys came, though, and it's not going to work. But let me assure you, it was super easy. It worked out great. When Glassfish came up, it gave you an option to make it persistent. I clicked yes, make it so it does this every time, which made subsequent runnings of it much faster, as I didn't have to restart Glassfish every time. And it's very powerful, it's very clean, it's very easy to use. And let's go back to the code. And as I was saying, making the Hello World example next to this example it literally only took me a couple minutes. It was super fast, super easy, super intuitive, and it worked perfectly the first time, which is good. I like that. I hate it when I type stuff up when I'm new at it and it's like, is this gonna work? Is it gonna work? Crap, it didn't work. Like we just had. But it actually worked really well. And it worked the first time, and it was super easy to do. And I played with a lot of the other stuff too, as I said, because with like you can do with. I wonder if that's why it crashed. I bet you that's why it crashed. Let me run it again, because I still had I had that. I'm surprised it compiled. Nah, I don't think that is did it. Never mind, because I didn't save it. We could try again.
I think Jed's server's still running.
I don't know. I don't know that we're gonna get it working here today. But does anybody have any questions about it? My final synopsis on Vaadin is like I said at the beginning, I drank the Kool-Aid. I like it much more than Prime Faces, which I do have some familiarity with. I like it more than Jet, which I have some familiarity with. I like it definitely more than trying to do everything in Swing. It seems to me like it's clean, it's powerful, it's easy to read, it's easy to maintain. It has some security features built in, which are a big plus for us in this industry. And it looks nice. You can easily make stuff look nice with it, which I personally, as a GUI designer, enjoy. I hate making GUIs that look bad. Yes.
Are there third-party gadgets?
Yes. 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 You can get elements from third parties. If you do a search on Vaadin elements, you'll see other people have theirs out there. And you can roll your own too. So anytime you can roll your own, there's going to be third party. So, is any other questions? Oh, sorry. The question was for those at home: are there other elements out there for you to get? And the answer is yes. You can get them third-party elements. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
Sorry. So it generates the JavaScript and everything from the Java code.
Right.
Does it cooperate well with like various JavaScript libraries?
I don't know. I don't think so because I don't know how you would do that in Vaadin. I mean, maybe, but
So I was wondering in general.
You might need an annotation.
What to me like E3 was
yeah. Yeah, it could. I'm not really sure. Yeah. There does seem to be a lot of information about Vaadin out there. It's not that new. I was surprised when I looked into it. It's only been named Vaadin for a few years, but it's actually started in like 2002, which now is fairly old in a computer age. But it's gone through several iterations and name changes and phases of being paid for and free. It's now forever going to be free, but at one point it was a tool that you had to pay to use, and then they were like, this business model isn't working so well, let's make it free, get everybody hooked, and then sell the add-ons like the test bed and the development tool and see if that works. And apparently that's working pretty well for them because they could afford to have a nice booth at Java 1. So that's what they're going with, and they did give out by far the best t-shirts. In fact, the t-shirts were so popular at Java 1 that they had to set up another time where people could come get more t-shirts, and to not make the booth so packed because they had literally like long lines. They actually moved it outside of the convention center to a special like information desk that they weren't using, and just had a come get your Vaadin t-shirt at this, and then you went and they scanned your badge to make sure you hadn't already got one and gave you a Vaadin t-shirt. So yes, but
Is it coming? It says
Yeah, try your application.
okay.
Just to refresh.
Yeah. Oh, look at that, it's
Maybe
working.
it just wasn't started all the way.
Okay, so this is the example that's in there, and if you click me, it does that, and yeah, it's pretty simple.
That is awesome.
If we look at if we look at the code, you can see that there's a text field that you put it in, and it has a caption. Type your name here, which we saw. This is the text or the caption above it, so it doesn't even have to have its own label above it. It's kind of a caption above it, and it does other stuff too. You can actually set. I can't remember what they call it. I don't remember the name for it, but it's a description. I think actually that's it. I think it's description. You can set a description on it, which actually is not something that the user ever sees, or not unless you show it to the user, but it's so that you can keep track of its state in a description manner. So like if you have what are the state of my widget screen, then you can see like text field blah 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 is good, and whatever button is ready to fire with these action listeners. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so the caption goes right above it, and it's all built in. Which is kind of cool. The button, simple to set up, pretty easy, and you can set the listener right there with the lambda. And oh, another thing is actually when you run the button listener, it adds a new component. So it adds a new component on the fly, and I tested this and it worked out where it didn't. Oh, so it keeps adding a new one every time. So that's kind of cool. A lot of GUI things will break if you do that, and this one doesn't. And yeah, so then you just tie it all together and you do a layout. Now, if you guys want, we can do it, but we're getting kind of late already, so I think we'll probably just call it a day. If you want to see more, though, come up and talk to me afterwards, and I'll happily walk you through what I did. But again, the bottom line is, I mean, as you can see, it looks decent. This is, where'd my mouse go? Okay. It looks decent. It doesn't look ancient, and there's actually a lot more you can do with it. I think if we go to some of the, let's not go there. Yeah, if you go, I mean it. So, if you look at like a lot of the things that they have going in here, you can see it's actually pretty nice the way that it looks. And again, this site right here was built in Baden, and it looks clean and professional. All right, any additional questions? Yes.
So I've worked some other similar type frameworks for different languages.
Okay.
One of the issues you tend to run into a lot of times, and I was going to ask about this here, is some elements, like buttons and text fields, they're pretty universal. There are
Right.
some that do vary in how they're implemented, browser to browser. Sometimes even, OS version browsers. OS
Right,
version browser.
right.
Do they handle that a different way? Do they have their own layer over top of them or something? Or do they
Yes.
kind of rely on-
So I did look into that because I was amazed to see that it does work with IE8 and I mean EI8, Internet Explorer, yeah, IE8. I was amazed to see that it works with that. So I looked into that and wondered, well, how does that work? Do I have to do extra stuff? And it turns out it's actually all under the behind the scenes. You don't really have to worry about it. But if it's gonna break, it's gonna break. It's because of that. So I think you can make it so that you can say if it's IE8, then do this instead of this. But I don't know for sure. I have not messed with that.
One example I run into a lot is file chooser dialogues.
Right.
The default one you use for IE, the layout of it is like reverse from what Firefox does.
Right.
You have the field on one side, the button on the other, and the other one it's
Right.
Which can for some OCD type people that can really bug you when you're doing a whole layout.
Yeah.
All your buttons are good, and then you go to a different browser, and then you have that one button that's like things like that.
Yeah. We could test that out actually if you want. So let's see. One of these layouts I know has a file. I remember seeing it last night. I don't know. I think one of them had it, but I don't know. But you could find the example and then just switch the web page and see what happens. Might be all right. I don't know. Any other questions? Alrighty. Well, thanks for coming. And again, if you think you can help out and be on the board, take Mike's spot, please come talk to me. We really, really need people to step up and help out with this. It's great for your resume. You're more likely to get to do stuff like go to Java 1 if that's something you're interested in doing. And I think it's a huge benefit. People will actually seek you out and want to talk to you because you're on the board of directors of the local JUG. At least that's been my finding. I think Mike's found it to be the same. And it'll lead to other stuff. It's led to other stuff for me. Like, for example, I'm now part of a agile working group that's kicking off in January, second half of January. So watch out for that one, and I'll be speaking at the first one of that. But there are benefits to doing this. It's not a lot of time. It is every once in a while, and usually it's telework time. You do get double the DWIA points though for presenting up here, and it's not bad. The crowds are almost always friendly. Nobody's thrown a tomato at me yet, and I'm sure I've made some mistakes from up here. So it's not bad. Please consider it and help out so that we can keep this going for a few more years at least. Alrighty, thanks for coming. Let's see.